Hello. More investors have been in touch with Look East today with details of the money they've lost with a savings plan sold to them through the Norwich and Peterborough Building Society.
Some Look East viewers invested large chunks of their life savings in a firm called Key Data. Some were relying on the interest payments to supplement their pensions. Others told us today they would be forced into selling assets. We'll be hearing from the Norwich and Peterborough Chief Executive after this report from Dawn Gerber.
Barbara Purcell invested half her life savings in the collapsed investment firm Key Data. She contacted Look East after seeing the plight of Albury and Carroll Hill, who lost £82,000 of their life savings in Key Data.
It's bad enough not having the income coming in, but also to know that the amount you invested you might not see again is devastating. Absolutely.
Rachel Cox also contacted us. She's lost £5,000 of her daughter's savings after investing in Key Data.
It was just basically for Lily's future, for something sort of education or a car, and now it's gone. It makes me feel a little bit cross.
I'm very sad and angry as well, because I thought it was Mum's fault because she wasn't looking after it.
And they aren't the only victims. Anne Feary wrote to say, "I'm a 73-year-old pensioner with no hope of recovering my money." June and Peter Mann from Case to St Edmunds said, "We'd invested £50,000 to secure our retirement. This is no longer the case." Shirley Jones from Norwich wrote, "I can't afford to travel abroad to see my family." People have also expressed their anger at how they're being treated. Geraldine and Ernie Cook say, "We're unable to get a response from Norwich and Peterborough." 3,500 Norwich and Peterborough customers took out a Key Data investment through the financial advice arm of the Building Society. The money hasn't gone missing from Norwich and Peterborough, but investors we spoke to feel the Society has an obligation to help them. Dawn Gerber, BBC Look East.
Well, earlier I spoke to the Chief Executive of the Norwich and Peterborough Building Society. I asked him, as the Society's financial advisors had advised people to invest in Key Data, didn't they have an obligation to those who'd lost out?
I think first of all, I want to say that the board is enormously sympathetic to the investors that have invested their money here. We are working very, very hard to try and get to the bottom of what's happened. The key issue here in terms of working out who is responsible is to find out what's happened to the money. One of the points that we're working very hard on is, in certain circumstances, if we understand what has happened correctly, the compensation scheme, the financial services compensation scheme, will be able to compensate the investors. Now, that depends upon the circumstances, and we at the moment don't know what has happened, just like our investors. But we've been working very hard with the regulators to try to get to the bottom of what has happened, find out who is responsible and the circumstances, as the quickest way in which we think we will be able to find whether there's compensation due to our members.
I understand that you're working very hard to find out what's going on, but actually people are getting very frustrated by the lack of information, by the fact they can't even get hold of someone to talk to.
Well, certainly that's not the case with us. I mean, we invited people to come to our AGM, and we're very happy to say what the current state of our knowledge is. But our knowledge is restricted because the real issue is being developed by the administrators of Key Data in the UK and the administrators of the investment trust inside Luxembourg.
Do you accept some responsibility yourself, since it was your financial advisors that advised people who were risk adverse that they should put their money with Key Data?
I am spending all of my time trying to get to the bottom of this issue, and I don't do that because I'm going to walk away from where things are. It's very important we get to understand the quickest way, and one of your investors on your report said that they thought they'd lost all their money. We don't know that's the case, and the quickest way to getting to the bottom of that is sharing all the information that we had from Key Data with the Serious Fraud Office, and the result of that may well be that we can trigger some compensation. That is the most important thing that we're focusing on now.
Matthew Bullock from the Norwich and Peterborough Building Society speaking to me earlier. A reminder that the administrators of Key Data say people who are worried should go to the following website, pwc.co.uk/KIS.
Well, after another day of high drama, we appear to be closer to knowing who will form the next government. It looks like David Cameron in some kind of alliance with the Liberal Democrats. But how will that go down with the public and the party faithful? Andrew Sinclair is in a cafe in Norwich South.
Yes, Norwich South was one of the big successes for the Lib Dems last week, and their new MP Simon Wright is now playing a role in deciding who should form the next government. But there has been some anger today, not just among MPs who I've spoken to, but among members of the public, that the third party is playing such a key role in deciding who should govern Britain. And this was very evident during a phone-in on Radio Norfolk this morning.
I'm absolutely disgusted with Nick Clegg. He's just gone from one to the other playing cat and mouse to get what he wants.
He said loads and loads of times he'd support whoever got the most seats. Well, the Tories got the most seats, so what's he playing about at?
If we had another election and the same thing happened, if we go into proportional representation or whatever, that's exactly what we're going to end up with every time.
Well, my understanding is that an agreement has been reached between the Conservatives and Liberal Democrats, and it will be a full coalition. The MPs seem happy with it. How do the activists feel, the people who pound the street? With me, two activists who've been pounding the streets of Norwich South. Simon Drage from the Liberal Democrats, in your heart of hearts, are you happy with the coalition with the Conservatives?
It's something I didn't necessarily expect to see happening when I was working through the election, but I think if that's what works, if that will actually deliver some of our policies, I think it's a real opportunity to actually get things like fair taxes that will help people in Norwich implemented, then we've got to go with it.
What are other activists saying to you tonight?
I think people appreciate how hard our sort of negotiating team and our leadership are working, and they have made a real effort. I mean, we are a democratic party. There's been a lot of consultation over the weekend, trying to take soundings from people about how they feel.
But Lib Dem MPs who I was talking to at Westminster yesterday was saying, my heart tells me to stay with Labour, my head's telling me to go with the Conservatives. Is that what activists are saying?
I think it's probably similar, but I think it's clear that there's no option with Labour. So.
OK, Michael Gillespie from the Conservatives, how do you see a coalition?
Well, obviously we wanted an overall majority, but, you know, the fact of the matter is we don't have that. And I think in order to help the economic situation, to get over the economic crisis, that the only viable coalition government was one between us and the Liberal Democrats, and that's the only stable government we can achieve at this point.
But can you get on with these guys? Because you haven't always been good friends on the ground.
Well, I think locally, there's a lot of activists around the country who find the Liberal Democrats' tactics quite difficult to do, but I think the national picture is what it is, and I think, you know, in order to form a stable government, we're going to have to go into coalition with the Liberal Democrats.
And very quickly, match made in heaven or match made in hell?
Well, it is heaven. I mean, we have to get on with this. We can't, you know, have a go at the electorate.
Heaven or hell?
Heaven is what the public have given us to work with.
OK, gentlemen, thank you very much. Back to you.
Andrew, thank you very much.